Ah, shit. Get your tea and your popcorn because we have hit yet another psychological jackpot. So, apparently, MLS couples are not allowed to buy land now because this influencer, Monet McMichael, and her husband are being accused of owning property on plantation land.
My man built me an at-home gym. We're about to get our first pump in, okay? Today's glutes. We're so fucking back. I cannot believe I have a gym at my house. Our house, my house. Darn it. It has like a wind tunnel that comes through, which is so nice. I'm pretty sure we have all the equipment to cover everything. Let's break it in together. I got my Baddies Only playlist. Shuffle that bitch loud. You finna pop this shit for real,
Okay, I can't play the audio because YouTube is going to copyright this video, but let's take a look at these comments. This girl says plantation fitness. So as you guys saw from that clip, this influencer is dating this MLS guy. I guess this guy was on Love Island or something. Like it just popped up on my screen when I was pulling the images. But I also want to point out how some women are threatened when they see MLS people coupling up and getting together. If you guys watch the Storytime series, you know there are a lot of people who say things like, oh, light skinned people can't date each other, or you guys are colorist, or they will accuse you of like basically trying to keep your genes within the family, or they'll say you look like siblings. And I think part of that is because in the Black community, in the unambiguous community, I think people are threatened when they see MLS people creating our own communities. Because let's say these two were to get married or something and have children, that is like a small version of an MLS community that would be separate from unambiguous Blackness. And I think that when it comes to social status and social climbing, a lot of women are already triggered because they know that women like Monet have privilege when it comes to dating, according to their own talking points. They know that women like Monet have privilege. And if it's true that this guy was on Love Island, you guys already know that if you watch a lot of Black female dating creators, they talk a lot about how they would love to have access to a famous guy, a famous guy who has money, who will provide for them or whatever. So this girl Monet, when she comes on here, essentially showing herself being spoiled, and I don't know this influencer, so I guess she could be lying, but it's like when you see her coming on here or kind of being happy, I notice that's very triggering. It reminds me of Nara Smith, like how people react to her. It's very triggering when unambiguous people see MLS women actually living out a privileged lifestyle. That's very triggering because it's almost like you're proving their insecurities. A lot of them already think that we are privileged. And so when you come online and say, oh, look, my boyfriend got me a new gym or whatever, when you come online and say that, they view it as flexing. So that's why a lot of people are mad. So my first question for the Hotep community is, who is allowed to own former plantation land? By the way, she does not live on former plantation land. That's something that somebody in the comment section made up. And the communita just ran with it so they could demonize this multiracial couple. This girl, if I'm not mistaken, this influencer is Puerto Rican and African American. But it's like, okay, first of all, even if they did live on plantation land, who is supposed to own that land? Is it supposed to be white people? Is it supposed to be someone who's more Black than them? Like, are they trying to imply that this couple is not Black enough to live on former plantation land? Meanwhile, if it would have been an unambiguous dark skinned Black woman living on that same land, people would have said, oh, this is what our ancestors dreamed of. Oh, you were your ancestors' biggest manifestation. You're taking back the land from the white man. But if it's a multiracial woman, if it's a quote unquote privileged Black girl who is accused of benefiting from isms, who's married to a man who would be accused of benefiting from isms, then suddenly it's a problem. Suddenly they're acting like colonizers moving on to plantation land. This person says the property belongs to them and it should still be respected. Damn. So apparently it's disrespectful now to purchase property that could have formerly been a plantation. And this is fake outrage because a lot of people who are making comments against Monet The people speaking against her, they could care less about upholding actual black communities, because if you go into the majority of black communities in America today, they are either owned by white people, or they have been destroyed by fellow black people, or they are filled with black people unaliving other black people in those communities. So it's like, this is fake outrage. They're literally pretending that they care about the land and infrastructure of black communities. Also, plantations are not the only representation of the black community. Like, is that really the pinnacle of blackness? Is a plantation field, a plantation house? So this is fake outrage. They're just mad because this influencer is pretty, she's successful, and she said at the beginning of the video that her man bought her that house, or he, revamped that property so she could have her own gym. This girl says, "Girl, are you at the Sinner's Juke joint?" Somebody says, "It's slave quarters." Another person says, "It was a barn, actually. Don't they live on a plantation?" And I find it interesting that the main people commenting are people who have probably never owned property, probably never will. They're talking about it being at the Sinner's Juke joint. Meanwhile, the same people that are talking crap about this woman have made the Sinners movie millions of dollars. So it's like you're trying to throw shade as if the Sinner's Juke joint ain't shit. Meanwhile, the black community ate that movie up. So they're actually complimenting her without even realizing it. This person says it definitely wasn't a barn. You can see in his initial video, it's clearly slave quarters, especially him saying when it was built. Somebody else says, no, it's actually slave quarters. So this couple has never said that they moved into a property that was slave quarters. But again, even if they did, what's wrong with that? What is wrong with people of African descent owning land that used to formerly enslave their people? Isn't that a sign of power? If anything, that's like taking back your power, saying, "Ha ha, look at how much wealth we have accumulated. Now we are the owners of this land." So my question is, who deserves to own that land, even if it was slave quarters, which again, that hasn't been proven, but who deserves to own that land? The government? Somebody more dark skinned? Somebody who's more black? Why is it that mixed people don't get to purchase land now? This person says, "Child, I know it's heavy spiritual activity there." Has anyone else noticed that whenever somebody can't actually argue with your talking points, when they can't argue with your success, they suddenly want to pretend like they have all this spiritual power over you? Like, I've noticed a lot of people in the black community, when they can't deal with their own cognitive dissonance, they suddenly just make it spiritual. Like, oh, there's some heavy spiritual activity. So she's basically trying to fear monger this couple. She's trying to instill fear in them, like, oh, you guys should be scared. Basically the dead bodies of those former slaves are going to come haunt you guys, and it's going to be demonic. So basically they're trying to imply that this girl's land is like cursed. And it's like, okay, how many black people are still living in Louisiana right now? Texas, Mississippi, Alabama. There are plenty of southern states right now that used to be filled with slaves. So if you're going to say that there's going to be heavy spiritual activity, keep the same energy everywhere. Wouldn't there be spiritual activity everywhere in America? Not just where slaves used to live, but also like in Washington, D.C., that's where the government resides. So, there's a lot of corruption going on. So wouldn't there also be spiritual activity there? Or is there only spiritual activity at this multi-million dollar influencer's property? This person says, "I think it's time we have a serious conversation. It's been time. 100%. Like, she needs to be serious. This is beyond too much. They not like us, friend." Okay, so they actually are admitting that they do view mixed race people as different than them, even if that mixed person is not white passing. You know how people have tried to tell us exoticals, like, oh, well, you don't even really look mixed, or you're too dark, or you don't even look ambiguous, or you just look black? Right here in the comment section, they're admitting they're not like us. So it's like, which one is it? Are we a part of the black community or not? Do we represent unambiguous blackness or not? Are we the same as the unambiguous community or not? This person says maybe the slave houses should have been donated to a museum or something and actually build a gym. This person says, so white people could further profit off slavery. Yeah, that would be the main people group that would profit off of slave land being sold to anyone else. By the way, Again, there is no guarantee or proof that these people even live on former slave land. This person says, I just know they're secretly married. Somebody else says, Jalen is just the last straw for me, girl. I'm telling you, he's a red flag, but do you, boo? Has anyone else noticed how no matter who we date, it's always wrong? Anytime an exotical gets married or has some sort of boyfriend, no matter who the guy is, he's never good enough. He's always like not shit. And it's like, okay, if this guy is trash, this guy that bought her a gym or whatever, or built her a gym, what does that make the Tyrone that you're talking to? What does that make the bottom shelf Brad that you're talking to? Because that divestment girl, I forgot her name, but I'll put her face on the screen. I think it's Queen of Kings. She's married to a white guy. I've never seen her talk about, oh, my husband got me a gym. But this girl, she's saying that her husband literally purchased property and, at least he got her a gym and she likes working out. She does content. So it's like, okay, at least she's doing something for her passions. So if the guy that she's with is absolute trash and he's the dustiest of all dusties, then what does that make the type of men that the majority of the unambiguous community dates? Like they don't realize that they're actually dissing themselves. This person says, calling it the house from sinners isn't the hee hee ha ha moment y'all think it was. That was literally a killing floor. So now they're deifying. Do you see how high of a pedestal they put Exoticals on? Not only are they putting her on a pedestal, but her actual house, they're deifying it. They're like, oh, there's probably so much spiritual activity going on. Oh, that was literally an unaliving floor. That's where they used to unalive the slaves. And it's like, okay, sis, were you there? Because last time I checked, influencers don't give out their actual home address. So, do you see this weird parasocial relationship that a lot of people have with these multiracial Black women? It's because they put us on a pedestal. So, they have this parasocial obsession with us. They feel like they know us better than they actually do. They act like they know us, they act like they know all of our intentions. This person says, now Monet, he told us that was his gym. So now they're trying to say, like, this isn't even her property. So basically, she's a fraud. Like, this is not the real lifestyle you're living, Monet. Like, this is not even your house. This isn't where you live. This is his property, not yours. So they're trying to downplay her success. They're trying to downplay her financial status. This person says, wind tunnel on former plantation is sending me. This person says, literally, no one said that. He mentioned that the cabin belonged to settlers. So, colonizers, no one is saying to do anything but to acknowledge it. This person says, now, what is your point? Because this country was built on colonizers. Exactly. The entire United States, the entire world has dealt with colonizers everywhere you go. So, that's how I know that this is fake outrage. People are just mad that this couple was wealthy enough to purchase this land or whatever and have a home gym. And people are mad that this influencer is living the type of lifestyle that a lot of people wish they could have. I talked about this before, how exoticals are not just the standard of living, but the standard of dating. So with Monet making this video showing her standard of living, kind of showing that she has an at-home gym, and then seeing this MLS couple, that's very triggering because a lot of dark-skinned, unambiguous Black people think that they have ownership over light-skinned men or light-skinned women. And so it's triggering when you see two lighter-skinned or mixed people getting together. But also, we are the standard of dating that they're trying to attain because look at who they watch on YouTube for their dating advice. Look at who they're looking up to. They're looking up to another African American and Puerto Rican woman, Shira Seven. Look at the women that they're idolizing in the media. Meghan Markle, she is a biracial woman. Look at the women that they view as social climbers. It's women like Lori Harvey, who benefit from isms, colorism, texturism, and featureism. Same thing with that girl who just married that little football player. I forgot their names, but the guy just graduated from college. He just bought her a Range Rover. So a lot of people, they subconsciously view us exotical women as their standard for dating and social climbing. And that's because we are living these aspirational lives in their minds. According to their own talking points, they talk about how they can't even get picked on a dating app or whatever. They talk about how they have to change their race to white because they feel invisible when it comes to the dating market. So I can see why this Monet girl is very triggering. It's because she's just kind of living her best life. And whether or not she works out with this guy doesn't really matter because she's already famous, she's already wealthy. Because I did another reaction video not too long ago where there was this unambiguous girl admitting that if she were either light skinned or mixed race, that all she would do is become a social media influencer. She literally admitted that she thinks that it's easier for multiracial women or kind of lighter skinned, more ambiguous women to become influencers. So I think that a lot of people they get upset because when they see a woman like Monet being successful and they see her thriving, it makes them feel like she doesn't deserve it. Like, it's not fair that she was born pretty, or it's not fair that she has all these privileges and now she's getting this land and getting this gym for herself. This person says, "What do you mean built me? He built it on his land in his house." So they're trying to say basically that's not your man. You're single. Do you see how male centered a lot of the insults are against exoticals? It's always, oh, well, your man's dusty, or you only attract dusties, or you're not even rich. That's his property. It's not yours. It's always male centered. This person says, now what? They decorated the slave house at the back. And I also want to bring up the whole stereotype about mulattoes. Like, people, you know how a lot of people they stereotype you. If you have black and white ancestry, they will stereotype you as being some sort of colonizer, some sort of slave owner. You're automatically a colorist. If you have that multiracial type of background. Well, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.